it's Courtney Squires of Squires Studio, an aspiring homesteader, urban farmer, and market gardener. So I started this channel back in November of 2020. I had started it out by planting a orange hat tomato and kind of talking about some of the things that I've been learning, how I've been growing spiritually here in my backyard garden. So I think I did like one follow-up video and then hadn't posted another video since. What I wanted to do is try to pick back up this YouTube channel and then also kind of do either weekly or maybe monthly vlogs about, a week in the life of trying to establish a suburban market garden. So I'm going to kind of just take you through as I find opportunity throughout the week and show you kind of what I've been doing, how the garden's coming along, and now that spring is right around the corner, kind of just show you what we're doing to prepare. So thanks for following along, and I am excited to continue this journey and have you along with me. Okay, so I just wanted to give kind of just an overview of how things are looking right now. I'll do a more in-depth tour as I get more things in the ground and things a little bit more established. I do have a previous video that is a tour, so you're welcome to watch that. That was at the end of 2020, I believe. But this is how things are looking right now, and I kind of just want to have this out there so that way I can look back and just see how the garden has progressed over time. So I have a couple raised beds here and some in-ground beds over there, and planning on digging several more throughout the season. This is just an overview of how things look. So the main thing that I'm working on this week is just trying to get a few cool season crops into the ground and into the raised beds. So right here I have this raised bed at the very beginning of the garden, the outer perimeter. So right now I'm just planting some Japanese giant red mustard. I'm spacing it about 4 inches apart. And these are seedlings that I started on February the 11th, so they're good to go ahead and get into the ground. And then as far as a few purchases that I plan on making this week for the garden, I need to get some floral trellis netting for some snapdragons that I want to get planted out this week. Well, it might be next week depending upon when the trellis netting arrives. On top of trying to have several vegetables, leafy greens, and whatnot in the market garden, I also want to do cut flowers. My original aspirations for getting into gardening was to do cut flowers, and my first year I completely failed. Well, I'm not going to say completely because there was some learning, a lot of learning. It was an amazing learning experience, mostly about what not to do. So I learned a lot about what not to do. One of the main things that I did was try to start my flowers in plastic containers, several plastic totes, and it started off good, but the New Mexico sun is not conducive to growing in plastic containers during the summer. So after several talks and trying to convince my husband, he finally let me have half of the backyard to do my gardening and flower farming. So I'm definitely doing it on a small, like, micro scale. Most people would consider this like a micro farm, or people would call it a market garden, like I've said. So I use the two terms interchangeably, but cut flowers was the reason why I got into this. I had no desire to ever grow any vegetables or fruit, but once I started watching more and more YouTube videos, it really ignited a passion in me to want to try to grow my own food. So here we are now. Hi, I'm back. It's Tuesday, and I'm gonna take you through a few little projects that I'm doing today. I'm gonna first go feed this handful of grass to my ducks. Rishi. There you go, guys. So let's check on the mustard that I planted yesterday. And then what I'm going to do is I have just a couple Swiss chard seedlings that I'm going to put in this same raised bed because it's about 3 o'clock right now and the sun is behind the house. And so this raised bed actually gets shade after 3. So I think this will be a good place to put cool season crops and leafy greens. So let's take a look at how they're doing. They spent their first night outside, and I have a little curtain thing over them right now, protecting them from birds. So here's the mustard. Looks like it's doing pretty good. And then here's the full bed, and you can see it's in the shadow now. And then what I want to do today is just put a couple Swiss chard seedlings here, right across there. But before I do that, I'll kind of show you some other things that we got going on in the garden. Okay, I'm going to show you, I brought out my seedlings today. I have them inside under grow lights, and then the last few days, last week, it was very windy, so I left them inside. So they desperately needed some sun today. I'll show you the seedlings that I have and just kind of name each thing that's growing. So these are all bush variety tomatoes, Roma bush variety. I have some beets here. Those are all beets. And then I have a mix of things here, some Shasta Daisies, snapdragons. I have some giant asters, those are flowers. Some dwarf tomato plants, those are orange hat. And then I think those are pepper plants, pasilla bajo I think it's called, or pasilla baja or something like that. I think it's pasilla bajo, I think. I have a couple collard greens here, some more tomato plants. These are the Swiss chard. I'm going to put maybe like 4 of those in that raised bed here in a second. I have 1 amaranth. I have tried 3 different times to get amaranth to germinate for me, and to show for it I have 1. But I'm going to plant it anyways. Here I have some mustard greens that need to be watered, some more beets here, and then those are all snapdragons. I actually want to put, these are all snapdragons also, and I'm going to be putting them in this bed here within the next week. I'm trying to decide if I should wait for my flower netting to come or not, because if I put them in, I can still put the flower netting over it, because the flower netting is going to be about 6 inches off the ground. I just don't know if it'll be easier to wait until I have the netting or not. Here I have some pro-cut sunflowers. They're a little bit leggy because they've been under the grow lights. So now I'm kind of hoping that they'll turn a little bit to face the sun, and I might need to leave the lights on. I try to leave them on like 14 hours because usually I'm trying to go to sleep after that point, but I don't know, I'm debating leaving them on during the night too, just so they can stop being leggy. But I can actually move the sunflowers out probably within the next week or so. It'll be warm enough. These are more pro-cuts. These are a couple chocolate cherries here from seed that I grew and saved from last fall. Got some lemon balm and some gomphrena there. And then over here, this is a branching sunflower called Gold Rush. These are almost ready to go out too. They have their second set of leaves, well, their first set of true leaves. And then more snapdragons and some jalapeno peppers. Like I said, I want to put the snapdragons out at some point this week. The high of next week is supposed to be in the low to mid 70s, so it'll definitely be warm enough. The main thing I've been waiting for is that the nights have still been in the mid to upper 30s, but starting next week the nights will be in the 40s. So I think at that point I can definitely move the snapdragons out and at least get the sunflowers out every day, and then I should be able to get them in the ground probably in like a week and a half. The seed was started on February the 19th and it's the 1st of March, so they're almost there. I'm going to just show you one of my other raised beds real quick, and then I'll be putting in the Swiss chard. In this bed, which is right across from the bed with the newly transplanted mustard, I have Shasta Daisies, and then I put some other mustard that was really struggling in their transplant pots, so I just went ahead and put them in this raised bed just to try to save them. And then here I planted Gladiola, and I thought I had stopped them like right across here right before the Shasta Daisies, but that is a Gladiola coming up right there, so it is very close to the Shasta Daisy. So I had 30 Gladiola bulbs, and I guess it took up more space than I originally thought, and I didn't mark it. But these went in almost 4 weeks ago. I think at the end of January, maybe. I think at the end of January, I'm not sure. But they're starting to come up. So I want to say it was like right at 4 weeks ago. And there's that one over there. So I'm really glad that the Gladiolas survived. This is my first time ever planting bulbs, and I was really nervous because I've never planted bulbs before. And a little bit after I planted these, we had a heavy frost, and it was like 2 or 3 days long, and there was a couple inches of snow on this bed. But the Gladiolas survived, and we'll see how many come up. Like I said, there was just over 30 in this bed, I think. So I will update you guys once we have more progress on the Gladiola. But I have them pretty packed in here. I want to say they're like 4 to 6 inches apart. And then I have those Shasta Daisies. I want to pretty much pack this bed so that the foliage of the Shasta Daisies, the mustard, and the Gladiola is shading out the soil to kind of act like a mulch. Because I don't really want to put any other mulch in this bed. I just want to have it densely planted so it can be its own mulch. So we'll see how that goes. So here are my Swiss chard. I'm just going to put 4 seedlings in for now until I can figure out if I have more space and see how big they get. I have them here across from the mustard. This bed is 4 feet by 4 feet, and I just spaced them maybe like 2.5 to 3 inches from the edge, and then they're 6 inches apart. And then if they do well here, I'll put a couple more here at the end, but we shall see. I tried planting Swiss chard last year over there in full sun, and they got burnt to a crisp. So I am trying this area that gets maybe like 6 hours of sun instead of like 12. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put those in. So here's how they're looking. Just those 4 Swiss chard. I'm not sure what the variety is. It was a packet that I got from Dollar Tree. So, but I think they're like a light pink or pinkish color. So now what I'm gonna do is just water them in and probably just put a very small circumference of mulch around these. Okay, so this is the final result. I forgot that I already had some leaves crunched up, so I went ahead and put on quite a bit of crunched up leaves as mulch. And I think what I'll do here, I think I'll plant pole beans here and maybe some type of leafy green here in the middle. Not quite sure yet. And then I want to plant something here across the back that binds up, but I'm not sure what yet. But this is how this bed is looking so far. And then I think the last thing that I'll do today is I have that bamboo stake over there, and I need to put another one there, and then one on each of these corners, and that will be for the floral netting. So I think I'll go ahead and get those put in. Okay, something I haven't shared about myself yet here is that I am a stay-at-home mother of 4, so I don't have a ton of time to be working in the garden, but I do try to get out here a couple times a day, usually once in the morning to remove the row covers, which I have right now while it's still kind of chilly in the evenings. I take them off and I use the row covers to block this area off so the ducks can't get over here and eat the crops. That's my kids. So like I was saying, I don't have a ton. They wanted a snack, but their dad went to go pick up groceries, so I was like, he'll have a snack once he gets back. So like I said, I don't have a ton of time to work in the garden, or even really like do this YouTube channel, but it's something that I want to do just for myself, you know, like if anyone else is watching has kids, whether it's like one or multiples, you know, sometimes it can be very easy to kind of lose your passion to be, you know, excited about anything else or have your own hobbies or something that's just for you. So it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this garden as something like for myself that I could work on and be excited for it, that was outside of the day-to-day kind of going through the motions. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get these in, and if I can get my camera to set up, then I'll do a time lapse of me putting these stakes in. Okay, so I have my 4 stakes in the ground, and I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. I was thinking about trying to put a few snapdragons in, but I'll wait till tomorrow or later this week. See you guys tomorrow. Hello, it's Wednesday. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's already 61 degrees here, so that gives you any indication of what the temperatures and weather is like here in New Mexico. It's the 3rd of March, and it's already 61 degrees at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I'm just hanging out in the backyard. What I'm doing right now is watering my seedlings. My husband and I brought them out this morning, and I'm gonna water them, and then once I get them all watered, I'm probably gonna try to prep the snapdragon bed and then get several snapdragons planted. So I'll show you the seedlings all lined up. So here's all the seedlings. Got my watering can with water from the duck's pool, so that's a good fertilizer, kind of acts like a compost tea, and I'm just watering everything. I just do it in a little cup like this, so it takes a little while, but it's kind of relaxing. I'm sitting here on the little rug and just going down the line, getting the things watered that need to be, and then after that I'll get started on the snapdragon bed over there. Okay, so all the seedlings are watered, and now my husband is over there working on turning the compost. So the snapdragon bed is over there. I'm about to move all of that mulch and then get the soil ready to plant the snapdragons in. husband is testing out the sprinkler system and just got me, and I had to run to get my phone before it got wet. So that's why that time lapse was interrupted. But I'll put in a time lapse of me putting in the snapdragons here in just a minute. The ducks are upset about the sprinkler, so you can hear them in the background. But I'll be back in a second with a time lapse of me putting in the snapdragons. Okay, so I have my holes mapped out for my snapdragons. I spaced each hole 8 inches apart, and then there's 2 rows. The rows are about 14 inches apart. What I want to do is, I do think I could probably plant them a little bit tighter, but I want to interplant lettuce. So I think like right here down the middle, I'm going to put lettuce, and then maybe on the edges as well. So at least and have them in there for while the snapdragons are small. So that's why I left a good amount of space in between the 2 rows. So we'll see how that goes. I do have snapdragons over in that bed over there, and those are spaced 10 inches apart. We can walk over there and see. Those are spaced 10 inches apart, and I do have them interplanted with buttercrunch lettuce. And these snapdragons have been in the ground since fall, and I only recently planted the buttercrunch lettuce here, and so far everything is happy. And there's 3 rows. These beds are actually narrower than the other ones. So even with these being narrower, I have the snapdragons like I have 3 rows here, and everything still seems to be doing pretty happy. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, I got my snapdragons planted in. There's 16 of them here, and I left the edge of the bed empty because I'm going to try to plant a few more in maybe like 2 weeks as a succession plant. I have a few more transplants, but I am going to put some of them in a plant sale that I'm having this coming weekend. So whatever I have left, I'll just keep those. If I have any left, I'll keep them and then transplant them here in a couple weeks so that I'll have continuous snapdragon blooms. What I'm going to do now is just use the dead grass clippings that I had as a mulch over before. I'm going to use that again and just mulch these and then water them in. Alrighty, and then here's the final result. I mulched it with the grass clippings and watered them in. And that is all I'm doing for today. Later this evening, I'll take all the seedlings back inside, and we're gonna try to run the sprinkler for the first time for like a full session, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah. So I'll be back out here tomorrow, and I think tomorrow I'm gonna try to get my pro-cut sunflowers planted out, and maybe my branching sunflowers as well, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. Hi, it's Thursday. It's right at noon. This will probably be my last entry for this week's vlog, so that way I can take some time tomorrow and edit the video. I'm actually pretty tired today. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, and I have a good amount of stuff to do here in this bed, but I'm just gonna do what I can today, and if I can't get it finished, I'll finish it up tomorrow, but I'm not gonna record it. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the snapdragons that I planted yesterday and see how they did overnight. Yeah, let's take a look. So the snapdragons are still doing good. They made it through the night, and it was a pretty windy night. I think the gusts were between 10 and 15 miles per hour, and these snapdragons are still pretty small, and they fared really well. So they're still looking good. That tall one, that one is a little bit taller there. is catching some wind, but the other shorter ones are doing just fine. I just put a little more mulch around that one so it's not blowing around as much. And then this is the bed that I'm going to work on today. I had dug this bed a few months ago and I didn't ever plant anything in it, so you can see there's a lot of grasses starting to grow up and the soil is a little bit compacted just from not having anything planted in there. And we were watering the soil just so it wouldn't dry out over the last few months, but I'm going to pull up some of these grasses today and break up the soil a bit, and then I'm going to plant these branching sunflowers. This variety is called Gold Rush, and I planted the seeds on February the 15th, and yeah, I'm going to put them out today. So what I'm going to do is break the soil up and then probably make 3 rows, and then in the 2 back rows do the branching sunflowers, and then in the front row do single stem. These I'm going to plant about 18 inches apart, so I'll probably also do the single stem sunflowers in between the branching sunflowers as well. So yeah, that's what I'm going to work on today. I'm not going to do a time-lapse recording of it because like I said, my energy's kind of low today, so it'll probably take me a while. I might be moving a little bit slow, and I use my iPhone to record. I'm using my iPhone to record this video, and I would like to use my iPhone to listen to some music or something to try to help spur me along. So I'm not going to do a time-lapse recording, but when I'm done with however much I get done today, I will show you guys the finished result. Okay, so I just finished using my pitchfork to break up the soil a little bit and turn under some of the grass that was growing up through here. I'm okay with just turning under the grass because it's just, extra vegetation to help build the soil, and then as weeds come up, because they will, but as the weeds come up, I'm okay with just pulling them and mulching over them with dead grass clippings. So here it is, these beds. It was my intention to make these beds 36 inches wide. I think they're really only about just over 30 inches, maybe like 32 to 34, somewhere in like that. The edges get kind of lost just with erosion because there wasn't anything planted here. What I did is I just mounded up the edges a little bit and then mounded up through the center to have my 3 rows. And then what I'm going to do is plant my branching sunflowers here and here, and then in the front here I'll do the single stem. Okay, so I just got my branching sunflowers planted. I spaced them 18 inches apart. And I kind of backfilled them in with some organic potting and raised bed soil mix. So this is how it's looking, and then what I'm going to do is start moving the hoops that are on that back bed to this one. Those are cool weather crops, lettuces and brassicas, so they're actually perfectly fine. They're going to do perfectly fine in the weather that we're having right now. It's about the mid-60s, and overnight it's in the 40s. So sunflowers are known as half-hardy annuals, so they can withstand some cooler temperatures, probably down to like the mid to lower 30s. So I'm just going to move the hoops here just in case the nighttime temperatures do drop a little bit lower, and to give them a little bit of wind protection in the evenings. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go get my single stem sunflowers, fill in the front, and then fill in the spaces in between the branching flowers.